What if James Gunn's Superman fails? No, better yet, what if the DCU fails? What then happens with DC films? That's the question that a minority of people are asking on social media. It pops up quite a bit in my comment section on YouTube, and a lot of times I find myself trying to answer that question as best as I can, because when I take a look at the landscape of not just DC films, like what's coming, but taking a look at the comic book movie genre, I don't see any real possibility of this happening, of Superman failing, of DCU failing. But let's first take a look at what would happen. Like, let's see a world where Superman fails. What does that look like? Now, we did a great article over at slavsfreetalk.com. That's my website. Go check it out. slavsfreetalk.com. Awesome. The potential fallout. What would happen if the DCU fails? It's a great article. And it goes over, like, for Superman to be considered a failure, like, what would have to happen? And honestly, we're looking at a box office that would be less than $400 million, because $600 million, while that would be disappointing, while it would be a financial failure, it wouldn't be a catastrophic failure for the DCU, because you have to look at it this way. The DCU right now, starting off, specifically Superman, it's an investment. This is Warner Brothers Discovery investing into a future of films. They don't want a failure. Don't get me wrong. And a failure could mean changes within DC Studios. A failure could mean a shift in the leadership, in the creative decisions at DC Studios. Absolutely. I'm not saying that there wouldn't be changes made. However, a failure at DC Studios, a failure with the DCU, a failure with Superman in 2025 is, I would say, under $600 million, under $500 million, $400 million range. And, even with Jurassic World coming out just a couple weeks before it, even with Fantastic Four coming out a couple weeks after it, it's hard to imagine that Superman can't make $600 to $700 million. Now that's a comfortable range for it. But what if it doesn't hit that? Let's take a look. What if it doesn't hit that? What happens? What could happen to Superman? Not just Superman, but to DC Studios. Well, like I said, I think we would see some shifts. I think James Gunn could possibly be shifted away from being director. He may just be told, look, you need to be in the creative role. Let's see what happens. But the one thing that won't happen is there won't be a bunch of cancellations. Let's not forget that Peacemaker Season 2 is being, is in the middle of being filmed. Supergirl is going to be filmed before this movie comes out. You're going to have Waller that's filmed before. Brave and the Bold is going to get into production before this movie comes out. There are a number of productions that are going to be in place, completed, or just about completed before this movie comes out. So it's not like they're going to just, oh, well, Superman failed, let's scrap everything and start new again. They're also not going to say, well, scrap everything and let's go back to the old, because that's what a lot of people think is going to happen. There's a good bit of people, specifically the minority of these fan bases over here, that, well, they're thinking, well, if this fails, they're going to bring Henry Cavill back. They're going to go back to the Snyderverse. They're going to bring back the DCEU. That's what they're going to do. And that makes no sense. Honestly, what makes the most sense is that they're going to go to something that they know works and has worked for DC and has worked for Warner Brothers in the past. That's Batman movies, one-offs, things like that. Yeah, we're going to get Batman movies out the butt, and probably terribly, terribly made CGI affected Green Lantern movies. But honestly, think about it. If this movie fails, they're not going to go back to another failed universe. They're just not going to do it. And that's what people need to understand. But my question is, why do people want it to fail? Why do people want DC to fail? A successful DC film franchise is something that we've all wanted. Sure, it's not necessarily the Superman you wanted or the Batman that you wanted, but that comes and goes. Yeah, we saw over at Marvel Robert Downey Jr. for nearly 15 years playing one character. We saw Hugh Jackman for 25 years don the claws as Wolverine. That's great. That worked for them. It didn't work over at DC, unfortunately. I I don't know how many of you are sports fans, but take a look at it this way. I grew up in the Pittsburgh area. Huge Pittsburgh Penguins fan. The 90s were a great time for being a Penguins fan. Mario Lemieux. And then he retired. And then the dark ages came in the 2000s. The early 2000s were terrible for the Penguins. I questioned everything that management did. It was not good. I would question why they were getting rid of players, why they were bringing certain players, what they were doing. But I was still a Penguins fan. I still cheered for them. I still hoped that they made the playoffs. I still hoped that they won a playoff series. I still wanted them to win. Regardless of me still questioning why they were making the moves, still questioning why they were doing what they were doing, I still wanted them to win. I still had hope that they would win. Eventually, things changed. We got Sidney Crosby. We got Evgeny Malkin. We've got Marc-Andre Fleury, and things happened. We won Stanley Cups. It was great. But as a sports fan, you take that analogy and you can shift that into this. You take a look and you say, this is DC. This is DC Films. I love the DC IP. I want it to win. I want it to be good. There's no reason not to want it to be good. Sure, it's not the players, it's not the actors that I want in the roles necessarily, but that doesn't mean it can't be good. It doesn't mean that it won't be good. It doesn't mean that they're not going to win championships and have great movies. So, if it fails, it's going to suck. But we shouldn't hope for the failure. Because with hope, a lot of great things can happen. With hope, something that was taught to us in an old Superman movie at one time. I think it was called Man of Steel. Hope can get us through quite a bit. Let me know your thoughts about all this in the comments below. Hit that like button, hit subscribe. Become a Slav Geek Talker, $2.99 a month. Support my channel. I would be forever grateful if you did so. Get some exclusive content. I'm going to start, once I start seeing those members roll in, I'm going to put exclusive content out there. But, I mean, why put it there when nobody's going to be watching it? It's kind of a waste of time, don't you think? But I will be putting exclusive content out there as soon as I start seeing members. So sign up, support my channel. Be great. With all that said, I'll catch you all later.